Prime Minister, the census itself, reference night was launched on Sunday, the 16th as well. You were the first person in the country to be counted, but it really shows the commitment that the Marape government has towards this census. 13 years since our last one. Has that always been part of your? Was it always something that you've been working towards?
I think duty demands that our nation have census every 10 years. I want to apologize that the last we could have had was 2021, but with the COVID-19 cloud hanging in the air and the COVID-19 restrictions still prevalent, we could not have delivered census 2021. We went into the elections in 2022, and so we felt that 2024 must be the year, especially right 1 year away from our 50th anniversary next year. We felt that we must do it in 2024, have the numbers presented to ourselves and our country, knowing its citizens as we face 50th anniversary. Importantly, as government, we need to plan well for our country beyond 50th anniversary, and so it is not too late, but a very important milestone event for our nation at the 49th anniversary of our nation's independence. Knowing every child, every person in our country is important. That's why in this talkback we have Minister Masere. He was especially appointed. He's got key constitutional officers that report to him, and one of which is the National Statistical Office, of which they run the census by law. It's important every citizens are being counted. He came in and with the energy and drive, and is now almost in the process of delivering our census. The reference night was on Sunday evening, 16th of June this year. Reference night means that when the key questions are asked to every citizen, they would ask you where you were on Sunday night. And I had the privilege of being the first one at exactly 12 midnight when it struck 17th of June. I was given the privilege to be the first to be counted.
Yes.
Symbolic that it is important. Being counted is important because the government then has full knowledge of every citizen, where you are, where you're living, who you are, so that government is able to have the ability to plan properly based on full knowledge of every citizen numbered in our country.
Now, with of course, the appointment of Minister Masere, Administrative Service, I mean, we've got a big year ahead of us, Minister. I wanted to say, you've got the census now, you've also got the LNG elections coming up. Seems like you've got a pretty stacked plate.
Good morning, Callaghan, and good morning, listeners. Firstly, let me thank FM100 for this opportunity for us to support the Prime Minister in this very important event that's taking place as we speak. The appointment of the ministry, of course, it's very important, and it is important that we set the platform going forward. So as you're aware, the census is what we have to tackle now, and then right after census, we've got the LLG election, which is headed by the Department of Provincial and Local Level Government, but because by law, the PNG Electoral Commission will have to run the elections. It is important that I also participate in that as a support to the Minister for Provincial and Local Level Government. After that, we will then start focusing on preparing for the 2027 National General Elections, which will, of course, be a huge task because we want to introduce the biometric voting system. So, of course, there's a lot of work involved in ensuring that we get to that stage to deliver the elections biometrically.
A pretty big ask for that matter. Now, with that being said, let me also bring into the discussion as well, Mr. Igitoi. We've been having a lot of discussions leading up to this, and Minister, let me say one thing. This man is one of the few heads of agencies that I've seen that aggressively does appear on the media and is always willing and open to give information. And, once again, a pretty good appointment. I'll say that much in that case. But Mr. Igitoi, since midnight, 17th, give us an idea of what's been happening on the ground.
Thank you, Callaghan. Thank you. It's my privilege to be with the Prime Minister to talk about this national event, which is about every Papua New Guinea, including my Minister, Honorable Masere. I think it's very important exercise, not I think, but it's a very important exercise for the country to actually know the numbers on the ground that is existing in Papua New Guinea. We have been working on the estimates, and I think we need to put to rest the estimates. On the 16th of this month, June, is the actual reference night, which our data collectors will be going to each of the households across the country, starting from 17, which started yesterday, till towards the end of this month, which is 30th of June. We should be able to have access to the households, heads of households, and ask important questions of how many people slept at that night, 16th of June, in each of the houses, to ensure that we stop the mobility of the population, and as well as to actually know the number of people that existed at that point in time. So that reference night is a very important night for us to make reference to when our data collectors go to each of the households to ensure that the number that is required for planning and for development decision making, and also for various other aspects of to do with the population numbers, to ensure that the number that is required is captured by the National Statistical Office. And one of the things that I must say is that the census is a mandatory requirement. We have to count every person, a male child, a female child, including mothers and fathers, as well as the old age. We also count in those people that do not have houses, homeless people as well,
Yes.
as well as those people in the state institutions like the prisons and those various. So as long as we count every Papua New Guineans that existed, even if you're a foreigner or a Papua New Guinean, you will also be counted at that time. So we request everyone to be part of that and coordinate and be responsive to our data collectors that is going out to the communities and the wards and the villages across the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Igitoi. Prime Minister, with what Mr. Igitoi said, you actually become the first Prime Minister to actually include the homeless population as part of the census in this case. First things first, when we, straight after you were recorded as the first person, myself and a few others, we went around with the NSO team to, for us, we went with that 4-mile team and commenced the operation of them actually counting the homeless. From Pings, we made our way across to the post office. From the post office at 4 Mile, we made our way across to Orilavi where some were sleeping. Stayed until 2:30 in the morning, and then I had to catch them Sharai. So by 2:30 I was out recording this. The next question people will be, as soon as I was posting up those live streams of those, I didn't capture anyone's face, so obviously to protect their identity and their dignity in this case. First question is, how do we plan to address them? That was the first question that popped up when I was doing the live stream. It's the first time we've attempted to capture this, capture them in a population census. The next question is, how do we tackle the issue? I think that was the first question that came up. I just thought I'd get that out of the way first.
Sure. Well, Callaghan, there's some sections in our city who knows. Sometimes when I'm almost finishing job at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, I drop by and I do pick up some fast food. I drop by and visit those boys, mostly boys who are in some parts of our city. And it's quite a moving experience when you ask them where you're from. Some would say Pat, Tari and Kerama, Golala and Goroka. And they belong to a class of Papuanians which is emerging now in urban areas where the third, fourth generations, urbanites, who are living in our midst, who don't have homes. They come from broken homes. Some do not know where their parents are. And we want to know exactly how many citizens we have in our country. This is their country as much as it's our country. And so just to know all of them gives us an opportunity to do our best, absolute best, to see how we could address them. I also drive, and I don't want to disclose what I do in my private times, but I do drive to well, I'll be transparent this time. I do once in a while drive into what you call it, the Boys Town, outside near Masere.
Oh, yes.
And once in a while I do pop in, just to see how they're doing. So there are enough like the Boys Town concept that we want to expand on, so that we do take care of the youths amongst us. Our government's gone ahead with the Second Chance Learning Program so that education can also be made available to those who dropped out of school. If you go out to Mount Diamond right now, Mount Diamond Secondary School, we built a facility just as a model to see how we could bring kids who left school along the way back to Second Chance, and we give them some added skills in life going forward. Our country's got enough land, and our government's also got a plan. We already have in budget an allocation to buy land, if not lease land, and we looking also not just for urban expansion but commercial agriculture.
Wow. Okay.
So down the line, knowing exactly how many citizens we have, not just knowing them by name or where they are, but more importantly, their character. Are they school leavers? Where they are? Do they have a home? If they've left school, what they're doing? These basic enumerations will take place today, but you will not see the last of Minister Masere.
That's
We'll get in deeper. Before 2025, when we celebrate 50 years of nation, the government, whether we have full solution for everyone or not, it's something we'll work into the future, but the government must know its citizens and residents, so that having known all citizens, whether he's homeless or orphaned, or living in a rural hamlet somewhere or in a rural island somewhere, the country must know. Today, I am ashamed to tell you that we don't have an up-to-date registry of all our citizens. And that's not good for any national leadership. When we know our citizens, then we can at least plan for how we look after them, whether it's in education, health, infrastructure, economic empowerment. You know, I'm a strong believer in, whilst our country has small ability to mass create jobs because of our formal employment sector is very little, I believe in the informal sector as a way of empowering our people. Agriculture, in SMEs in agriculture, SMEs in local tourism, SMEs in the spin-offs that get going in our resource sector, as well as government spin activities. So knowing our people is important. Those cluster of Papua New Guineans who are right now being homeless in our cities and urban areas, we can't ignore them. They also, if you look deeper, and I've studied this, the issues in the urban areas. You also would see that the indigenous urban population is a growing concern right now because they may not have any formal activity. They've lost their gardening rights in what is now an urban area. They've lost their fishing rights. There's a congestion in what would have been the traditional fishing areas. And these are areas where government is concerned. We want to know all our people so that in budgets going forward into the future, we're able to match the population need and match development focus. Instead of right now today, with no full knowledge of population on almost like a political agenda, we just spin our resources. But this census is very important for us today as a nation. That is why I'm here. That is why I was at midnight, being the first to be registered, to signal to all our people that whilst we may not have full solutions for you as yet, the least we want to know is you, your presence, and wherever you are. So that having that data with us, we can able to curtail all of our focus plans going forward beyond 2025. So it's important for us. I cannot stress more than enough. I want to also say to your Minister and Chief Secretary and National Statistician, it will not just be the next 10 or so days that is left. Practically speaking, there may be some that is still missed. And so if you are missed, for whatever reason, no one questions you. For whatever reason, logistics, weather, or arrangements that someone has not asked you your name and your place of residence, ask you about where you were on the 16th of June this year.
Yes.
Then please be known you are not counted as yet. Make it your business. Contact the district public servant closest to you. Whoever's a public servant officer, we have structures in our entire country, including Bougainville, where there is a LLG officer in each LLGs, district officers in each districts, and the provincial administrator in each provinces, as well as a Bougainville chief secretary. These are key contact points. If any citizen in the next 10 days, no one has made contact with them from National Census, then know that you are not yet uplinked and you're not yet registered. I want to say that this program will still run. Data verification, data cleansing, continuous update will still be running. And government will put a good resource to ensure that the National Statistics Office under Minister Masere's watch has enough capacity to run this all the way through. And I look forward in September 16, 2025, when the nation celebrates 50 years, that every citizen has been numbered. Every citizen has been counted. With this, we want to make it a high-quality census. Unlike the census of 2011, which I was a part of. If you ask me a honest question today, what do you think about 2011 census? As for me, having studied some statistics in university, I can tell you, I am not happy with the data available from 2011. It is not a tool for national planning. Correct census data upload is the best tool for national planning. That is why it is important you are counted. And so we will make sure that the continued verifications is run until we arrived at every person known in our country, every person, whether you're a citizen or resident, or even a visitor who comes in. And if you're a visitor also, resident on the 16th of June this year in our country, and you ask, then it is your just duty to our country that you indicate you are a visitor, but you were in country on this date. We want to know everyone who lives in PNG so that we can probably account for. It's important that we account for city municipal services or social services or infrastructure services or law and justice sector aspects. So that's why population count is important. Hinging on our 2011 census, we just have to do better so that 2024 is okay. That gives this government or any government into the future an ability based on population to account and serve our people.
Thank you very much. Minister, did you want to add something on?
Yes, certainly. Thank you. I just want to support the comments of Prime Minister and just add a little bit on, particularly to do with the homeless that we counted them on the 17th around 12:30 p.m. right after we finished with the Prime Minister. Our census team moved out into the cities and then started counting the homeless. So the idea was that because the homeless generally tend to move around, so that it was important that we counted them on that particular day or night, so that we get a correct number of people that are out there. So for the government, it is important, and under the leadership of Prime Minister, this was included as part of the census to include all our homeless and orphans that are out on the streets. So the idea now is to how do we take it on from here once we registered all our homeless people. And as you're aware, we want to know whether this is a growing issue in the country or not, whether there is a slow growth in the homeless people in the country. So we need to identify this. We need to know who they are, what they're doing, where they come from, what are the issues affecting their families, and how can we address it as a government. And there are some programs that were done by churches, and under my responsibility as the minister, we do have what we call the civil registry under us, and they look after churches as well. So what the civil registry will do, and that's the discussion we're having now, is that how do we look at, after the census, how do we capture those homeless people? And there is a program that we want to look at, and that is called Feeding the Homeless. We don't want to let a non-government agency to take charge of this, because generally if you do that, you may have a influx of homeless people looking for a free meal, so to speak. So what we want to do is work in partnership with the churches so that our people that are out there can start migrating into churches. And, the idea is to build a strong community where, you take people away off the streets, and then churches can cater for them, and how the government can partner with them to ensure that we strengthen that program so that it allows homeless people to feel that they're wanted, feel that they have a place to stay, and then we try to take more people off the street in that approach. So that'll be something that we'll be putting together a white paper for the Prime Minister to update him on what we'll do after the census, and these are some of the areas that we are working through with the civil registry at the moment.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You've been quite busy with that. I was going to come and ask you a few other questions, but I can see now we're heading into another topic altogether. But thank you very much. Thank you very much for heading that one on. On the National FM100 Talkback Show, I've got to pay my bills, so please, got to keep the water and lights running. I'm going to take a break at this juncture. Coming up next, we'll continue our discussions. I'm not opening up the phone lines just yet, so please just hold on to those calls. Prime Minister is here patiently waiting for you to call, but not right now. Please, let's get through some of the questions first and a bit more of the discussion before we start allowing our calls. You're listening to the National FM100 Talkback Show. My special guest in the studio, the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, Honourable James Marape, along with the Minister for Administrative Services, the Honourable Richard Masere, along with Chief Secretary, Ambassador Ivan Pomalaeu, and our National Statistician, Mr. John Igitoi, in the studio. On the National FM100 Talkback Show, more coming up.
NASFAN FM100 Talkback Show. For more information about discussions, visit our Facebook page. Go to Facebook, search NASFAN Talkback Show -FM100, hit like and follow us. You can also inbox your views directly to our Facebook page.
NASFAN is partnering with Pacific International Hospital to provide quality and affordable medical services for our members. Present your NASFAN ID card to take advantage of 50% discount on GP consultation.
Yeah, so this is people asking how can we be captured? That's from how can we be captured? They're asking. The other question is for those living in apartments in gated communities. If they're out, how are they counted? So also the questions that came up. Yesterday morning at early hours of the morning.
There's a strategy behind everything.
Thank you.
It's live streamed overseas as well, FM100.
Yeah,
Yes.
our mobile app is the one we're in. They're listening all over the world.
All our citizens are listening in.
If you have your Android device, you can pick up. It's not compatible with iPhones yet. So once we get one that's compatible with iPhones, then you can listen.
The dashboard will be set up.
You can ask them.
Put the link on your phone so you can see the population.
Oh, it's the Chief Secretary. I'm just going to bring you in straight after the break. Okay?
That's all right. Public service,
Yeah,
get
so
the
the
public
coordination between the public service people.
service. No problem. Good.
Just
It's clear that
Yeah.
people are thinking there's a public holiday. But it's not
You don't stop, so please.
it's a good idea.
Still a front page post Korea on this one, or?
What was that about?
Everyone's getting confused.
Why should the slow start thing on us? Hang on. I didn't see any of you guys with me. I've done it for my.
Hold on.
We brought TV line to be on TV line with our
Lower now.
No, the front page today, they read slow start or something. Post, yeah. Post.
We anticipated it. It's normal for any event to start slowly. Yeah.
Massive
It's a massive event.
undertaking like that. They have a slow start.
And then it's the momentum picked up. So all this talkback show, the announcements that are going online, and radio, TV.
Sure, stop. Let me go. NBC, yeah? Find out on that time.
Yes.
Here we go.
It's a good job here. I like to do it after retirement. I like to be ready and answer the retirement of my job.
Please,
Listen to good music.
You need to come.
You and me have that youth program here. Behind me, let's talk after that.
Please. Thank you. Thanks you.
NASFAN FM100 Talkback Show. Join the discussion. WhatsApp now to 7714-6340.
Welcome back to the National FM100 Talkback Show. Prime Minister James Marape, our special guest in the studio, along with Minister for Administrative Services, the Honourable Richard Masere, and Chief Secretary, Ambassador Ivan Pomalaeu, along with National Statistician of Papua New Guinea, Mr. John Igitoi. If I can bring Ambassador Pomalaeu into the discussion. Ambassador, coordination is such a big thing to play, and particularly when you're talking about the census and all of that being centered around the fact that it's going to be done during the school holiday period. Teachers might be free around that time, and myself, if I remember correctly, as a little toddler, during the 1990, well, not toddler, I was a bit grown back then. I hadn't started school yet. In 1990, I kind of escorted my mom around when she was doing census. Lily Wokulungan. So yeah, some places we went, they were very nice to us. Other places we went, Dogroni Mitla, you know. I mean, many things happened around the time, but again, the coordination that had to be done for this, I mean, it's looks like it's taken a lot in terms of coordination, especially around Papua New Guinea, logistically challenging, and at the same time, the public servants that are scattered right throughout our country, and particularly the district level and at the LG level. How's the coordination been, and how's the lead-up been altogether?
Thank you, Callaghan, Prime Minister, and our Minister, Director of NSO. Good morning. First and foremost, the leadership is provided by the NSO team, but the provincial setups there, provincial administrators are responsible for the planning down in the provinces and the districts. We've issued general circulars to all public servants to be involved in this process. The teachers are on holidays. The Department of Education has given total dispensation to the teachers to be involved in this process. We've got, today is a no-work day for public servants, but there is an expectation that all public servants are involved in this process. Firstly, to have themselves counted, that's important, and also to assist the census process, whether it's in deploying government assets, time, advising, or even assisting with the coordination of the teams on the ground. We expect that to happen, hence that one day. But I'd like to say this, in the context of the mode of collecting data, it would be important that the father of the house is at the house to help make sure that the important data is shared, and we'd like for that to happen. And if I could just make one appeal for flexibility, it's not just for the public servants, but for all workers and for all employers to be as flexible as possible, to allow Mama Blouse or Papa Blouse long help him all census teams time all come all community in the house, especially all man woka. And daytime will come. The supposing that man blends him good or question dates of births, those sorts of things, then it becomes problematic. 2011, some experience that people left questionnaires to be filled, but no one was there to fill those questionnaires correctly. So even though we got some misgivings about taking day off, the fact of the matter is that we do need people who know their house, those who live in their house, to be available to provide the important data. So public servants, be flexible for at least for the next 2 weeks. Make sure all public servants only help provide him data, all enumerators when they come. I would appeal to the private sector as well. We understand you're there to serve your customers, but if your people need to take 1 hour, 2 hours just to be there to receive the census team, it's a 1 hour in 10 years. I'm sure you can afford to allow your people, for that matter, a day, just so that we collect good data that would make this exercise worthwhile. We need to have it. Private sector need to know who's there, what are the customer base. Government need to plan for its development. So we do need cooperation from everyone. That's why the teachers are on holidays. That's why the students are on holidays, so that it makes it easier for teams on the ground to assist with enumerations. That's really, really critical. In terms of the coordination, like I said, the provincial governments, the administrators chair the census committees in the provinces, and they coordinate the public servants right down to the districts and the wards. And they are expected to be the front face of this effort for the next 2 weeks. And we would encourage them. Today is an important day to be involved in the awareness program, to be there so that they are counted as well. But if there's a need, we're not giving excuses for you to take day offs, but if there's a need for, depending on the schedules of the teams, to come to your community and your area of work and your area of where you live, then you'd be wise to be available to answer those questions, provide the best and reliable data so that those are uploaded immediately. Before I'm working paper can put him na you complete him na ben come carry him go. Now like make him the tablet there. Someone needs to be there to answer those questions correctly, and then it's uploaded. That's important.
Now, with Ambassador Pomalaeu touching on the tablets itself, Minister, kudos on actually getting this to a digital stage for the census. I know there's going to be live data coming in, particularly with the dashboard monitoring system that you've actually set up. I'm actually quite excited, and I hope I can actually come pop into the center to actually see live data coming in as well. What can I say? It's amazing work that you've done, and how did it all come about? The idea behind it, and into its actual existence itself. How did all this come together?
Well, firstly, in line with what the Chief Secretary said, it was important that we collect quality data. And in order for us to achieve quality data, we needed a platform that is reliable, but also stores the data as it's been collected and been uploaded. So in the past, when they were using documents or papers to register, sometimes you lose these things. So then it finds it or makes it very difficult for us to identify what the actual population is. So we needed to find a platform that as we collect data, it is synchronized to the cloud-based storage facility, so that once they upload in, it's automatically uploaded into the cloud storage facility or application, and then that information is then accessible by the relevant agency, in this case the National Statistics Office. So setting that platform was important in order for the data to be quality. So as we collect, the numbers will be daily uploaded, and then the numbers that we set up a control center that has a dashboard that will monitor as the data is getting uploaded. So as the data gets uploaded, it is from the cloud base, it is then accessible through the dashboard, where you can see the live running of the tally of the population that's been collected. And the important thing also why we also migrated to using the tablet is key important is that every individual that's given a tablet, we know which person has access to that tablet. And that person is identified by the SIM card that's entered onto that tablet. So as the person is uploading, we know that that particular person who's been assigned the tablet is responsible for collecting that data. So in an event, at any point in time when someone's using a tablet, but we don't see any data migrating into the main infrastructure or the main platform, we can be able to then contact that person and identify what the issue is. And if he's saying that network problem or whatever the issue is, then we guide them to ensure that the data is uploaded. So the most important thing, Callaghan, is to ensure that the data is quality. And as Prime Minister alluded to earlier, in year 2011, the data that was collected wasn't quality data. So there have been a number of agencies and number of foreign entities that have come up and said, your number is X number. So to put that all to rest, we need to make sure that the data we collect has to be quality and to ensure that it registers every Papua New Guinean across the country. Every man, every woman, every children will be registered, including those who are visitors, foreigners in the country, will all be registered at that point. The 16th of June is the reference night. So that's the start of the question when a numerator sits with you, is to find out where were you on that particular night. And then they collect your data based on that. So of course, if you're a family unit, you will have your husband, your wife, your children, and even if you have other family members or visitors with you, you register on that particular time when it fell on the 16th of June.
Now, also the question that did pop up during two particular questions that pop up during the course of this by our listeners and our viewers on our live stream as well. Firstly, number one, for those Papua New Guineans who might be living overseas, how are they captured in the census? And number two, for those Papua New Guineans that live in a gated community or those that live in high-rise apartments that might not be home during the time or might be at work for that matter, how are they captured? I mean, probably I can turn this to you and Mr. Igitoi as well.
Well, firstly, on the 16th of June, where were you for the population to acknowledge, or the census to acknowledge the population on that particular period of time?
Yes.
So if you're overseas, we cannot count you. You have to be in the country at that particular point in time, which is the reference night, and then we count you from that point onwards. There are other supplementary work will be done after the census is completed, and this is where all those other relevant information and people that have not been registered that are living abroad but Papua New Guinean citizen will capture them in that secondary work that we will do after the national census is completed on the 30th of June.
Oh, Mr. Igitoi, would you like to add on?
Yeah. Thank you, Colin. When we were doing the enumeration, we identified the structures, different types of structures. The private dwellings, that's where everybody or whoever owns the house is called a private dwelling. There are non-private dwellings like guest house and various other dwellings that the people live in. And also we have institutional housings like the barracks and all these things. So we have specific, for the non-private dwellings like hotels and guest houses, we provide or we live with them some forms for them to fill which people stayed there in that at that particular time. So that's basically what we do with so all the structures in the country are all structured. We've got the satellite imageries that also identify those structures across the country. So we need to identify whether that's a private dwelling, non-private dwelling, or institutional housing, so that we can be able to know exactly what sort of house, so that we can count those people in those different dwellings.
Mr. Igitoi, also please, you do have a toll-free number as well if anyone saying that they haven't been counted.
We have a toll-free number that was launched by the minister, as well as we launched it last week. And that toll-free number, actually, the minister also mentioned about that. There are 20 lines and about 20 computers. So they will be starting from 7 o'clock in the morning to 9 or 10 p.m. in the afternoon, just to answer any challenges and issues out in the field, so that we can be able to address those issues or challenges that is coming from the field. So basically, that apart from the dashboard that the minister just explained, we also have the call center. And we have a toll-free number. So wherever you are, you can use that toll-free number to actually contact that call center to be able to address some of those challenges, issues that is affecting the data collectors or whoever. If somebody's not enumerated, we can be able to send a team or anybody that should be sent to those locations, so that we can be able to count those people in the communities.
You want to give the toll-free number for the public? Again? If you have it here, then Callaghan could have the number, and in between every now and then pays bills, and he could also relate the number. And anyone missing census,
I should be able to pay the bills now that you're here, so.
Callaghan, we should be able to provide that number to you very shortly, as soon as I have that number. It's a new number.
Yes, so what you see is there's a toll-free number.
Toll-free number.
We'll also use technology. There should be a internet registry site, so that those who are outside who feel that they have not been connected, they could dial in, they could email in, so that we count every citizen and we count every residence. The residents too are important. Some are long-term residents. They do business here, they stay with their spouses here, partners here. They use water, they use power, they use transport, they need police, and they use air transport. We need to know every citizen and every resident, so that the country is able to address our development focus in that space.
Now, Prime Minister, from a planning perspective, strategically planning perspective, now that you've had one major strategy like MTD before already launched. Obviously, the critics have said, where is your data when you plan out MTD before and based on the estimate itself? After the completion of the census, and once you have those raw figures, or at least some sense of where the country is with the population and the different age groups and demographics, does that alter major strategies like MTD before? Do you have a review of it again based on the new data that you have?
MTD before is just the goalpost for the next 4 years, in as far as where we're heading. And it includes us retiring census this year as part of a key component of MTD before. And so we're doing census within the context of what we want to achieve in MTD before. But the key headline focus areas remain in as far as our main development agendas are concerned. whether it's in health, education, infrastructure, law and justice sector, and growing economy. So those focus remains. The input of numbers into those focal programs will then give us ability to tailor our budgets based on population number. Instead of something that Minister Honorable Joseph Lelang and his team is doing is to bring into the formula the cost of delivering goods and services. At the moment, we don't have really a deep cost of delivering goods and services. It's just based on a quantum allocation from budget. But knowing population and knowing where they are gives Minister Lelang's team an ability to, and the National Economic Fiscal Commission, an ability to now add into the disbursements in as far as development budget is concerned, a figure that is dependent on population and a figure that is dependent on the cost of service delivery in that locality. And so all clockwork of in as far as our national development focus is concerned is outlaid in MTDP4. MTDP4 is not taken out of the blue. We've had a look at how we've come in the first three MTDPs. MTDP1, which was a Somare government MTDP, MTDP 2 and 3, which was a Onei government MTDP 2 and 3. It's a Marape government MTDP 4 now, all within the long-range vision of our national Vision 2050.
Yes.
That was mounted by Somare in 2010, 2011. So in that space, as we track through, all with the baseline indication to increase the human development indicators of our country, better education, better health, all parts of our country open up to good enabling infrastructures, law and order being functional, as well as our economy growing. And so MTDP4 will not be altered. It sets the goalposts. But we're throwing in the population dynamics into the formula. It gives the budget planning for 2025, the budget planning for 26, and going forward until the next census is reached, a budget drive that has population in deep consideration. Right now, it's just an equal spread right across with less consideration to population. For instance, Port Moresby Northeast, maybe a location that is closest to Port Moresby Port and airport with power and health facilities, whatever it is, closer.
Yes.
However, the density of population possibly is an electorate of 300,000 people, if we do count, with in-migrations that is taking place all the time.
True.
That 300,000 people will be served within the 10 million quantum that is allocated to all districts right across. So that district is being assisted with a 10 million development budget, whereas a district that is only 30,000 people may also get 10 million kina. So there's an imbalance in the resource spread.
Yes.
So that's why this population count is important. So it gives government the added tool to be strategic, to be fair, to be equitable, and to ensure everyone has an equal chance in progressing in as far as our national wealth distribution is concerned. So consistent with our constitutional goal number 2, that says there must be equality in resource dispensation. So it's important we get this right, and medium-term development 4 will not be altered. But it is also not 10 commandments. Only 10 commandments it will change.
Yes,
and so if there's a need for us, based on our count today, for instance, before we went to National Census 2024, there was an indication the population ranges anywhere between 12, 13 million to 17 million.
That's right.
Based on imaging and the modeling that was inputted by ourselves and from our development partners. But if suddenly population blows out of perspective and is 20 million, even if it is lesser, it gives us now as government planners to sit down and know where the population density is, where the concentration is, how far away from the nearest hospital, how far away from the nearest police post, how far away from the nearest court and ministerial services, etc. is, and we will then be able to look into how best, with the districts concerned or with the provinces concerned or with Bougainville, we could tailor in as far as resource allocations to our people.
One key important thing when we talk about resource allocation in itself has been the budget of the census itself. 153 million was actually budgeted, 400 million kina. The government has released. Has the remaining 53 million been released already?
I think it's being released already as I speak. The ministry and the National Statistics Office is now transferring those resources to the provinces who are assisting. But let me call out and shout out to all provinces and districts. At the moment, there are over 3.6 billion kina sitting in our districts and provinces right across our country.
Wow.
And as far as development fund is concerned, in that there's a component for administrative component. 10% of all resource allocated is for the administration of those resources to hit the target, hit the mark in as far as delivery is concerned. So I just want to appeal to all and through the Office of Chief Secretary anyway, appeal to all our administrators and all our DDA CEOs. It is important we get census right. Your continuous receival of development funds is dependent on population, and so get it right. Count all our people, because it's your just service to your people at your point of service delivery. So I want to appeal to all our district CEOs and our provincial administrators. Make it your business number one, even when today the holiday is over, but in your everyday work now, especially those who are in the service assistant positions, not the health worker or the teachers. I think teachers on holiday, but every other public service. I just want to ask through Chief Secretary, I think the circular instruction has gone out where as much as possible they could assist in the head count and assist the enumerators right across our country, so we get it right.
Okay, yeah. Firstly, the toll-free number is 180-1676. So that's 180-1676. So we do have a call center set up at Digicel. So every call that you make on that toll-free number, regardless of what network you're using, whether it's Be Mobile or Vodafone or Digicel, it's a toll-free number, so it won't be charged to any individual that's making that phone call. The 6 questions that will be asked by the enumerators as they move around is they'll ask you for your name, of course your gender, whether you're a male or a female, and then your age, and then of course your date of birth to be exact, so that we have that point when you were actually born. Your relationship to the person that's in the house, so if you're a father, what's the relationship, your wife, your children, and then of course whether you're a citizen of Papua New Guinea, so they'll register that, and of course your marital status. You're married or you're not married, or you're student or you're young man or Islam. Those are the questions, 6 questions they'll be asking, and of course they're not difficult questions, they're very simple questions to kickstart the understanding of who the individual is.
Thank you very much. Now, very quickly taking a look at our WhatsApp messages coming through. Regarding our WhatsApp messages coming through, again, people, 180-1676. That's the toll-free number for the National Statistical Office, not the WhatsApp number, pardon me. If you have questions, or in the case where if you haven't had the question asked, as in where were you on the 16th in this case, and if it's gone past the period that we allocated for the census, if you feel you've missed out or would like to find out more about find out more about what's happening on ground, please give them a call, 180-1676. By all means, please stop the prank calls. Just concentrate on putting genuine questions through. Now, with that being said, from our listeners this morning, I just had a few that registered their questions early. This one from Ivan saying, once the counting is done and dusted and the data is on hand, what's next? How is the data going to help your government? I think that's a question directed to Prime Minister. Address the issues so that we citizens can see immediate, medium, and long-term results. Many Papua New Guineans are tired of too much fancy lip speeches and lip service. That's Ivan from Gordon's, one of our regulars, and I believe he called you last time when you were on last year, Prime Minister, regarding the data collected. I mean, after census.
All right, thank you. I just want to appreciate Ivan who has called in, just like every one of us who are concerned, myself included, to ensure that services do reach our people. Every citizen must appreciate that we work in the size of the economy that we are presented with. Before we took office, the economy was a 79 billion kina economy. From within, we raised internal revenue. Budgets of our country before we took office was, for instance, the 2016 budget our 2018 budget rather, we delivered a 16 billion kina budget. So why am I saying this? Money dictates service distribution and dispensation. The fact is that from 1975 up till today, population growth has outgrown economic growth. That is why my government has always been focused. Number one, conversation must be growing the economy. As we grow the economy, we have enough resources to do the rounds. And within the context of what we have in our budget, based on population count, we will try our very best to be fair in our resource distributions to all parts of our country. Now, people are entitled to ask the same question you asked the national government. The same question must be asked to every district that you are from, every province that you are from. National government, in the fairest possible way, as I said earlier today, over 3.6 billion kina still remains in our district and provincial treasury accounts right across our country.
Goodness.
That is for classrooms, that is for health center services, that is for small feeder roads and bigger roads, just like national government is supposed to be delivering on major national key deliverable and key outcomes. So I want to reply to Ivan saying that I am concerned just as much as he's concerned on our country's progress from where we are today to a developed state. That is the goalpost that Samara set for us to arrive in 2050. And we are here today in as much as possible. Based on the population count, the answer I could give him is that we will tailor-make a formula that has population count assisting in the way we distribute resources to our districts and to our provinces, and for national government to focus on what we need to do. So that is why it's important. Get yourself counted, and knowing who you are. This will not be just a 10 to 12 days of count. We will do this for the next, until 2025, before September 16, have a fullest understanding of the characteristics of our population, so that all of us can be linked to a development program someplace. And our development doesn't happen overnight. For the last 44 years, before 2019, our country has not developed much. Or if for the last 49 years up till today, if our country has not developed much, then I just want our people to understand that it is a work in progress. Consistent input into our country's development focus and focal programs like MTDP4 or the past MTDP 3s, three MTDPs we have, or continued medium-term plans that will come after MTDP 4 by this government or any government going forward with a focal point that is on people, where they are, then we will see some advance and progress in our country, not just today, but easily 10, 15, 20 years from today. So I want to appeal to our people. We know you're going tough out there. That is why our government removed tax from the toilets of our economy. That is why we're investing right now in IRC to ensure they have a flexible taxation system, so that when the going gets tough, we could remove tax from certain, for instance, the essential household items that we trial in 2022. These are a work in progress by our government that is conscious to the hardships our people are going through right now. That is why we remove school fees from our parents and citizens. Today, parents don't pay even project fees. But this all will be, when we conclude the census, will give me, as the chief strategic planner of our country, an ability to know population, how much money we must put in quality education, how much money we must put in health, how much money we must put in a road that goes to some place that people are, and road that doesn't go to nowhere. Population count is important. This balance of 10 days that is left, is it 10 days or how many days that is left?
12 days.
12 days that is left is just to make contact with you. After that contact is done, we will then overlay with the quality aspects, understanding the economic characteristics, population characteristics of our people. And then it gives me an ability now to sit at my desktop as the chief planner of our country to know what I can do for people in urban areas as well as people in our rural areas.
Prime Minister, one key question that I've noticed from many of our viewers and our listeners that have been contributing in, I'm just trying to summarize it properly, particularly with the compilation of data. Many have asked, why can't we link the census with the NID card? Why can't we have that running simultaneously with the same team? Other questions focus on births and deaths. do we have a system that can actually capture the births to probably tie in after the census with records that we have, and then the deaths, if there is a system where from the nearest funeral homes or hospitals they can send the data through. These are I think these are mostly many of the questions that came in, looking at the whole spectrum of data that needs to be collected, and probably, if possible, is there a plan to have a consolidated data center, for instance? I do understand Dataco is also building a data center with Oracle, I think. With that being said.
Yeah, that's an important question. We'd like to get to the destination where there's one uniform data that is applicable right across our country. And so census required by law must be done. We're doing the census based on the requirement of law. NID, the civil registry, that is also another function, similar function, but run by a separate sister office that is being run. Civil registry office is an everyday process that is running, and that is running on the side. This census gives us a reference point to actually put our hands and fingers on the number of living persons in our country right now as we speak. As that is retired, or that is complete, or that is cleansed and the data cleansed and verified, will then interface. It is our government's intention to ensure one population database that feeds NID, a database that feeds civil registry, that is a live link and cross-share platform, one database that is also used for common roll updates, for instance. So this population count will have many products. A product that is applicable for NID, product that is applicable for common roll and census updates, common roll updates later on, a product that is used also and fed into our civil registry at some point in time, and hopefully for me, as we focus, before 2025 national general elections. Gift my crop of leadership want to give to this country is one platform in as far as population registry and a cleaner, better population-based voting platform in 2027. So people, many times you complain, James Marape this and that, leaders this and that. Well, you have your choice in 2027. You go to the elections, mark your leaders properly, and that's dependent also in this population count, because we will also overlay going forward a clean common roll update that is based on actual live person and not a non-person gracia, so to speak.
Minister Masere, would you like to add it?
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, I must say this and put on record that we got about 400 plus NID officers that are working out in the provinces, are all participating in the National Census. So they've been part of a unified effort to make sure that all our Papua New Guineans are registered. So NID is basically a registering unit. Data collection right now is considered record collecting. So when they're collecting record, of course, NID will then have a clear number that they need to register, because the census will collect from birth right through to death. So they will have a clear understanding of what number is out there. So at the moment, whilst NID is running a program, it is also an optional project that the government initiated. So while it is optional, people go and register at will, not required by law to register. So NID registration has been slow on that because it's been considered a optional program. But under my leadership now, both PNG Civil and Identification Registry and now NID will be merged together as one unit. So NID will sit under PNG Civil Registry as a department or a section within the PNG Civil Registry. And then they will then use that opportunity to then not only collect registration of our individuals, but they will also issue birth certificates. And we are going to link that all up with all our health centers, churches, communities at wide, even our ward recorders, to ensure that when someone is born, automatically data is provided to us to continue to maintain the registry. And then those who die, also that information, because most communities that we have are rural, and so the two people that are generally present in those communities are churches and our ward recorders. So we can be able to synchronize it so that the data, after the census, we can keep a reliable database going forward. So these are some of the plans we've got running at the moment. They're all in discussion stages right now, and we're all waiting for the census to be completed so that we have a finish line, what we need to do, how we need to get there, and what resources do we require to achieve that outcome that the government wants.
Thank you very much on the National FM100 Talkback Show. Now we're making the lines open. 3233 777, 3233 999. You can be the first person to call in and ask our panel this morning, comprised of Prime Minister Honorable James Marape, along with Minister for Administrative Services, Honorable Richard Masere, along with them as well, Ambassador Ivan Pomalaeu, our Chief Secretary. I almost said Honorable in this case. Could be a sign of the times in the future. With that being said, also Mr. John Igitoi, our National Statistician in the studio with us this morning. You can have your say 3233 777 One particular message coming through saying, Prime Minister and Minister Masere, how does the government verify the accuracy of census data to ensure that each individual is counted only once? And how does the government plan to improve the process and systems in place to prevent duplication? From Miriam. Thank you very much for that question. I'll turn it to Mr. Igitoi. When it comes to verification, I'm probably straight.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Callaghan. And that's a very important question. We ensure that the data quality is very important for this exercise. We need to get the actual numbers that is on the ground, and that's why we using the tablets. Each of the tablets that we have is configured. That will provide the location, meaning the allergies, the wards, and in the wards we have villages. So we have done the configurations of those things, and once they do the data entry from those locations, we should be able to monitor from our dashboards. So that is how we will be able to know the quality of the information that is coming through, and it will also reduce any other statistical processing time. It will be live and it will be on time to ensure that the number that we collect is real time and within the time frame that is given to us. For this time around, the 5th National Population Census, we are not going to use papers. Sometimes dispatchment and bringing in those numbers, papers from the communities also cost a lot of money, and at the same time compromise the quality of the information that is collected from the field. So we are doing away with that, and we are doing the tablets, and that will actually provide the basis for us to say that the information that is collected from the field is of quality, and also provides the confidentiality of the information that is collected from the field.
Let's take to the phone lines. Good morning, FM100 Talkback.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name, please, and where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mr. Gwynner, calling from Mosby.
Mr. Gwynner from Port Moresby. Please go ahead. Prime Minister and Minister here.
That's Dixon.
Former Secretary.
Dixon.
Dixon.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. Mr. Gwynner, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, we got the Prime Minister, Chief Sec, and Mr. Masere and Mr. Igitoi in the studio. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Prime Minister and Mr. Masere, Minister, and Chief Secretary. I'm just trying to say thank you to the government, what you are trying to do for our people in relation to the census. I think it's a very important thing that we have to do. And as a former secretary, I think I have been pushing for the ward recorders, and I think that's one of the things that I like to mention to you, PM. The ward recorder information is quite critical because the information is right on the ground, and if we can have the ward recorders in place in every ward, I think our data will be accurate because those data are right, authentic. They are right on the ground, and people coming in and going out, or even people who are dying, the records are updated. If we can strengthen the ward recorder, I think we can make a big difference in terms of our data throughout the country. So it's just a thought for Prime Minister to think about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gwynner. PM.
All right. Egotora, thank you, Bada Herea. Laudiba.
Mr. Gwynner, thank you very much for your time, and you have a top day in Pom.
Thank you so much.
On the National FM100 Talkback, so the lines are open 3233 777 to Secretary Pomalaeu, you made a point during the break to say that the census is a snapshot. Could you just further elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'm sure Mr. Igitoi will elaborate after me, but just so that our people understand, population census, whether it's a Papua New Guinean one or another country, is technically it's a snapshot of the country's data at a given time period. And I go back to Prime Minister's comments and the Minister that the reference point, the starting point of that snapshot is the midnight on Sunday. And so there are obviously important suggestions about how data can be uplifted and rolled in and how it could combine with certain other things like NID and that's all well and good, but in keeping with the technical definition of a census, you have a starting point for enumeration and an end point for it, which in our case is 2 weeks, and that's where our baseline data for the next 10 years sits, between the 16th of June, up to 2 weeks from that date. So just so that people understand that we are confined by technical definitions of censuses.
That's right.
That it's a snapshot of the country's data, population data at a given time.
And what we're saying, it's not so much like a rolling feed, pretty much where you have like raw data coming in, like what the NSO dashboard is, digital dashboard has been set up at headquarters for that matter. Sorry, Minister Masere, you're trying to add on onto that, and also regarding the verification.
Yeah, thank you. Just further on that, firstly, we have to understand the census itself. In most developed countries, census is done generally either annually or biannually because they have a robust system which registers people across the country. For Papua New Guinea being a developing country, we have so many challenges, and of course the limited funding that is required to ensure that we conduct the census. You know, our forefathers, when they set it out in the Constitution, understood the challenges, understood what the difficulties would be, so they required us to do it every 10 years, which is by law we should do it every 10 years, which is where we are today. So whilst we are moving forward, of course, you'd have to appreciate the reason why this ministry was established by our Prime Minister. Firstly, is because if you look at our data collection, the process has been duplicated across the entire government agency. So, for example, if you look at National Statistics Office, it's set under the Planning Department or the Planning Ministry. And then if you look at NID, it moved around a bit, but the last one it set under was with the Police Ministry. And then, of course, the PNG Civil Identification Registry set with the Community Development, and which Mr. Guina has alluded to on the ward recording. It sits with the provincial and local level government. So you had government funding duplication of work that were done by all these agencies. So under the leadership of Prime Minister, it was important to bring all these relevant agencies that concentrate on numbers under one ministry so that we have complete oversight over it and manage that process going forward. So which is, as we are now, we are doing the national census conducting, and that number that's collected will then allow, for example, NID to pick up from that number and ensure now that they have a finish line. They will have like how many people living in particular districts, provinces, and within cities, so that they have a finish line that they need to achieve. So of course, NID collects registration of everybody. So their data collection is far more complex, where they go down right as far as your family tree, your great grandparents, so to speak. So the data collection from there. So what NSO will do is that they'll provide the basic template or platform that they work from, and then NID picks it up and they add their own building blocks to it to build a character of a person. And then education picks it up, they add their own building blocks to build on that character of that person. You know, where did he go to school, how high or what was his completion of school, and then of course if you pass that to health, if there's any medical history of that person, they build building blocks on that individual. So what the census will do is that it becomes a single data collection that allows every other government agencies to link to that one database, so that everybody synchronized on the database we do, and which is what Prime Minister alluded to earlier, is that we would like to also look at that data, and then we have actually a complete number of a population for our Commonwealth. So we will have a good indication when the census is completed from 18 years all the way up to the oldest person in the country. We'll have that data, which we can then pass on to the PNG Electoral Commission, who can then develop the Commonwealth from that. So there are all these elements that will begin to align itself with the final number that we collect. So these are important elements going forward. And I do agree that what Mr. Guina alluded to, saying that the ward recorders are based in the villages. With the new process that we are now undertaking and the reforms we're bringing into the PNG Civil Identification Registry, all these will be synchronized. We will link with the ward recorders, we will link with the hospitals, we will link with the churches to ensure that our data that we collect is accurate going forward.
And live collections.
Live collections.
Now, this question in particular, I think one of the main ones that has been I've noticed on our feed, and the questions that have been coming in regarding 12 days that we have left. Are we on track to complete the census? There's reports coming in that there are certain provinces or certain wards that haven't received their tablets as yet. They could be starting late as well, and just the reassurance from Minister regarding those concerns and those people who say that we might not be counted and we might not even start our census.
Well, we've got about 22,000 people that have been engaged to conduct the census. So 14 days was a time frame that we looked at, which we believe is sufficient time, whether we start 1 day late, 2 day late, or 3 day late, is to ensure that we cover up the entire population of the country. So to answer that question, 14 days is sufficient. 12 as it is, we are still confident that we will register all Papua New Guineans because of the number of enumerators we've got engaged to carry out this task. Most of the slight setbacks are all administrative, and they are all to do with either allowances. Some want to be paid allowances up front before they move in or start collecting data. There's about 4 provinces that most of the materials already on the ground. We're just uplifting the balance of the materials, like tablets, because we had to configure the tablets to make sure that they are ready, census ready. So they have been uplifted. So this morning there was 1.8 ton of cargo uplifted, and this afternoon another 1.4 ton will be uplifted, and that's all the outstanding cargo that needs to get to the provinces. Or otherwise, apart from that, most provinces have received, and as far as I know, 5 provinces have kick-started. I believe it's East New Britain, Central, NCD, and I think Milne Bay. So West New Britain as well. So they've already started. So the census collecting has already started. It's just 1 or 2 provinces which we need to address. Which I think one of the issue they had was their outstanding allowance from the Tier 3 training. 29 million was dispatched to all the provinces on Thursday last week, and then the balance of 50 million to cater for all the, actually 45 million to cater for all the work that will be done by the enumerators over these next 14 days is being dispatched today to all the provinces to make sure that everyone is paid. So I just want to encourage everyone out there is that if you're doing this for money, we have to put the country first. Go out there, collect the data, we will pay you. I think it's fair to say that you work and get paid should be the motto that we should have, rather than getting paid and then doing the work. You know, let's go out there, let's get the work done and then come back. This government is prepared, we have budgeted, we have ensured that, and I would like to thank the leadership of our Prime Minister who ensured that the funding was made available. So, you know, we got the 100 million for the planning stages right up through to the training, everything, and then the 50 million is being dispatched as we speak. To the provinces. So, you know, I want to encourage everybody out there is that this is an important program of the government. We are funding it and supporting it. So we need your help and your support as well to go out there and collect the data for our people.
Prime Minister, we've actually run out of time. Thank you very much, Minister Masere. We've actually run out of time, but to end the program on this note, once again, final parting comments to our viewers on via our live streams and pardon me, via our listeners on through our transmitters and also through our mobile app tuning in this morning.
All right, Callaghan, I know the call's coming in. I just want to advise all faithful listeners of Kalang FM100 Talkback Show. Keep your questions coming in through the Facebook pages, or if not, through the email and the lines here at FM100. We will get our team from National Statistics, Minister Masere's office, or even my own office to assist in answering relevant questions that need to be answered. So we'll collect all the questions and do a response to every questions that are being asked. But I want to appeal to our people in closing. It's an important national event that comes once every 10 years. Put your country first. You know, many times we go and spend many hours sitting and trying to get a ticket to watch games for rugby league, to support a rugby league team, etc., etc. Well, this one has more important benefit to yourself if you get yourself counted. Find the nearest counter who is counting population next to where you live, and get yourself being enrolled. It is very important. Right now across our country, we're getting 22,000 Papua New Guineans, especially youths who are engaged in this count nationwide. And to all the youths, I've made a statement once that we want to know who you are. This is the reference point. If you're out there in our society, being restless, unemployed, not doing anything, get yourself counted. We want to know who you are. As we know who you are, government has the tool to try to work to address you, whether it's in SME, or whether it's in continued education, whether it's in any other form of engagements that we can map out for our country, especially those who are youths amongst us. So I appeal to all our youths, wherever you are, pick this moment up, get yourself counted, go to your nearest district office, who will then register you through the process of registration. This is not just, it's 6 simple questions, but from these questions, you are uploaded already, you are uplinked, your name is uplinked. The next layer of work through verification will be interfaced, so that will come until you find out which school you've left, what are you doing, are you employed or not employed, where do you live, where is your place, your tribal land, your place of origin. All this will be interfaced, so we have a clear understanding of our national character, population character, before we go to the 50th anniversary next year. So this is not just an event that will terminate at June 30th this year. We will still run more work. Government will put enough resources to ensure fullest data. The quality aspect of data is uploaded into our system, so that then it gives me as a planner and a government planners to ensure we work for economic empowerment, for education of our people, for health service distributions, for Connect PNG to come to you in as far as roads or jetties or airstrips are concerned. So it is an important pointer for our national history. We are 49 years of nationhood. We're going to our 50th next year. Challenges abound, but knowing you gives us an ability to plan for you also going forward. And so I want to appeal to all of you in conclusion. And I look forward to coming back if there's a clear space in FM100 Talkback, and we can also talk on this, as well as other questions that hangs in the public space as to what is happening and what we will do from here going forward. Something that I'd like to conclude, Callaghan, as
Yes.
Minister Masere did inform earlier, whilst this is not a common role update, there have been always many issues surrounding common roles as we go to the elections every year. I have committed to the country before as we form government again in 2022, that the 2027 common role must be cleaner, better. One person, one ballot paper, one vote in 2027. And so this is not a common role update, but this
Yes.
counts every citizen in our country, as Minister Masere correctly says. From this one, in this one population database, there'll be many products that will grow out of this. And one of the products would be a better, cleaner common role for 2027, so people can have their voice in leadership elections also in 2027. Get involved, leave no one behind, get yourself counted, and our government will try our absolute best to ensure the product benefits all of us.